Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido and today it is the Petalburg Razors going up against the Pastorio Hydras, and the Razors are coming off a clean sweep defeat. They were unable to get a win in their last game, whereas the Pastorio Hydras had a clean sweep of their own, but they took the victory, taking all the wins, and they want to repeat that here again today, whereas the Razors are looking to get it together. But with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win. Is it going to be the colorless decks? Is it going to be the water decks? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And having flipped heads, it is going to be the Petalburg Razors going first with that Safari Zone deck, putting a Taurus in the active spot and that second Taurus on the bench. It is the Psyduck from the Aquatic Ambience deck going into the active spot for the Pastorio Hydras, and thankfully an energy cannot be placed down onto that Taurus to try and take out the Psyduck. As they've taken out the Duo from their deck, they also play their Pokeball to get a Kangaskhan from their deck as well. They've got the X-Speed and the Leaf in their hand at the moment, as they opt to put down the Doduo as well before ending their turn and sending it over to the Pastorio Hydras, who pull out the Giovanni. They fortunately have a Pokeball, so they will be able to put a second Pokemon onto the bench, and it is going to be Tentacle, who is taken out of their deck, and immediately they do place that down behind Psyduck. They can put down an energy and go on the offensive as well, doing this 10 damage to Tauros, and it is just going to be chipping away at it there. But also this will make it so the Petalburg Razors cannot play any supporter cards, as they just pull out the Giovanni supporter card fittingly enough. So they will be left to either go with the X-Speed if that is what they opt to do, but it will still require one energy to be placed on a Taurus. It is a 2 energy retreat, it's a 2 energy attack as well, so they do just send it back over to the Hydras, who pull their second Psyduck for game 1. And as always, these are best of 3 games, but that third game will count towards the leaderboard, as they put their first energy onto the Tentacle as well. They play their own Giovanni, knowing that they can get that 20 damage this time with the Headache from Psyduck and prevent the use of those supporter cards once again. Not that they know that Giovanni and Leaf is there, it is very handy to have, as the Razors do pull their second Doduo. They put the second energy onto Taurus, who can go for the Horn attack, doing 50 damage. Psyduck will have 10 remaining. Fortunately, that Giovanni could not be played to ensure it did get eliminated. As the Hydras pull the Tentacle, they can evolve the Tentacle and get a second energy onto it as well, who will be able to do 50 damage in its own right. But not just that, it will leave whoever it attacks with the poisoning, but they opt to put the energy onto Psyduck, and that active Psyduck is continuing to attack the Taurus, so they're willing to give up the Psyduck here in that active spot. As the Razors pull the Sabrina, they still cannot use any supporter cards thanks to that Headache of Psyduck. With that said though, the Petalburg Razors can opt to take out Psyduck, but what will happen surely is Tentacle will come in and be able to finish the job, but instead they're opting to play the X-Speed on the Taurus, so it will only be a 1 energy retreat, having to give up one of the 2 it has. They're opting to go with the Doduo over the Kangaskhan, who will be able to finish off Psyduck, but still Tentacle could come in and finish it off. It will be doing that 20 damage to take Psyduck out. I guess the Petalburg Razors are happy to give up the Doduo at the moment over giving up that Taurus. And immediately the Pastorio Hydras are going to play that Tentacle into the active spot. They do pull their second Lumineon, but they don't have a Finneon in hand yet. They get that second energy onto the Tentacle. Here comes that 50 damage from the Poison Tentacles, but it will leave Doduo with that poisoning to take that final 10 health and get the first point for the Pastorio Hydras here in game 1. Now the Razors need to think about what they want to do, and they do opt to go with the Kangaskhan, who's still at full strength, so it can outlast the turn from Tentacle, and it only requires 1 energy to go on the offensive. As they play the Pokeball they've just pulled, and they get the Lickitung out of the deck, who we know is capable of doing a great deal of damage, but it is a coin flip to determine it, and it's a coin flip to determine whether Kangaskhan will get 0, 30 or 60 damage onto Tentacle here. It needs 2 heads, it gets 1, it goes for the second one, it gets 2, it's going to get that 60 damage onto Tentacle here. That is fantastic for the Razors, needing to get that damage onto that very threatening Tentacle. And the Hydras finally pull a Finneon, so they're immediately going to play that onto the bench. And they do get that first energy onto it as well, knowing they can evolve it next turn, but the poison tentacles now from Tentacruel, willing to run the risk of the coin flip against the Kangaskhan. They get that poison onto it as well. Kangaskhan needs 2 heads to take Tentacruel out of this game, and that could be a massive determining factor as they play the Professor's Research. They just pulled to get their second Sabrina and their second Kangaskhan as well in hand, but they have a full bench. They cannot play that Kangaskhan at the moment. They get their first energy onto the second Tauros. As it's another coin flip, they get the tails. Unfortunately, they do get that heads on the second one, so they will get the 30 damage onto Tentacruel, but that will not be enough to take it out, and Tentacruel can finish off Kangaskhan here. Now the Pastoral Hydras do pull that Pokeball once again. They immediately are going to play that down, and they are going to get their second Tentacle out of their deck. You know they're going to surely put that Lumineon onto the Finneon, as well as putting that second energy on it ready to go as well. Now Lumineon can attack benched Pokemon, and they are going to play the X-Speed onto Tentacruel as well. They clearly don't want to give up the point with the Tentacruel. They are going to go for that single energy retreat to put Lumineon into the active spot. So they're going to start attacking the benched Pokemon now. They are not waiting to take out Kangaskhan. They're going to try and let the poisoning do that for them as they do focus on that Tauros. There's that poisoning still afflicting Kangaskhan in the active spot. As the Razors pull that Professor's Research, they have quite a few supporters in hand at the moment, and they are only able to play one of them at a time. They get a second energy onto the Tauros with only 50 health remaining. They're going to play the Leaf. They're not actually playing the Professor's Research. They want to try and keep as many points active as they can. They're retreating the Kangaskhan. They're going to put that Tauros into the active spot, but Lumineon can still finish off Kangaskhan. The Horn attack will do 50 damage to Lumineon. It can be taken out on the next turn, but not before Lumineon will be able to finish off the Kangaskhan that is benched. And the Hydra is pulling their second Tentacle, are going to play that Tentacle, putting that first energy onto it as well. Now with that Aqualiner, surely they're going to go for that Kangaskhan, and that is exactly what they're going to do. So the Hydras do get their second point to take the lead back in this game. Now the Razors need to be very careful. Surely they're going to take out this Lumineon here, but what happens next will be massive for the Pastoral Hydras. They do play the Doduo into the active spot, do the Petalburg Razors, so very interesting play. They could have played the Kangaskhan. They're going to go with the Horn attack onto the Lumineon, but they're starting to hesitate. They may be aware that that Tentacruel, even with 20 health, is on the bench. It can finish off that Tauros. They look like they might be retreating, and they are. They do retreat the Tauros onto the bench. They're going to use the Giovanni with the Doduo, but Doduo won't be able to outlast Tentacruel either, so this is a kind of a mistake from the Petalburg Razors. They finish off the Lumineon, but Tentacruel will still be able to finish off Doduo because it will get that 50 damage from the poison tentacles, and it will do that additional 10 with the poisoning. The Pastoral Hydras are capable of taking this game right here, right now. They immediately put the energy onto Tentacruel and they go on the offensive. They are going to take game one and continue this win streak and continue this losing streak for the Petalburg Razors as that poisoning finishes off Doduo, and the Hydras take point 3 in game 1. And with a quick field reset, we are into game 2, and the Hydras flipping heads do go first with that Blastoise coin, and they are going to be using the Frozen Pond deck against the early routes deck of the Petalburg Razors. They've got the Articuno in hand, putting that into the active spot. They've also got the Poliwag along with a Frogadier, Poliwrath, and the Pokemon Flute. Now there is the Rattata and the Pidgey in hand for the Petalburg Razors, so they have an option choosing to go with the Pidgey in the active spot. They've got the 2 Professor's Researchers as well, and the Pidgeotto, and it only takes 1 energy for both Pidgey and Pidgeotto to go on the offensive. And again, it is the Hydras going first. They pull the Froakie on that first turn as well, immediately putting it into the active spot. They will surely evolve that on their next turn, but they do send it over to the Petalburg Razors, who get the X-Speed, and they immediately play their first Professor's Research, thinning their deck, getting that second Pidgeotto and the second Rattata as well. They put their first energy onto Pidgey here, and immediately with that Gust doing 10 chip damage to the Articuno, who requires 3 energy to go on the offensive, and they pull their second Articuno as well. But I wonder if the Hydras are going to focus on their benched Pokemon, as they've got that Poliwrath in hand. They'll need the Poliwhirl to try and get that online. However, they do put their first energy onto the Articuno, and there's that second Pidgey now for the Petalburg Razors. They've got the 2 Pidgeottos in hand, so they can start setting up both of them, but they are going to want that game controlling Pidgeot. As they play their second Professor's Research, they get a Fury and they get the Raticate, so they can evolve with the Rattata that they've got on the bench. They have the second Rattata in hand as well. But there it is, Pidgeotto and Raticate coming online, putting that energy onto Raticate, also only requiring 1 energy, but there's the Gust. 30 damage now onto this Articuno, having only 60 health remaining. It is the Pokemon Flute for the Pastoral Hydros being pulled, and there's the first energy being put onto Frogadier here. And the Hydros are actually going to opt to retreat the Articuno and start going on the offensive in their own right with the Water Drip onto Pidgeotto. They don't want to let this Pidgeot get set up, but if it gets pulled on this turn, it is the Pidgeot as well. The Petalburg Razors can take out this, sorry, they won't be able to take out the Froakie. It will be a 2-turn move, but they can use the Drive Off to get one of those benched Pokemon into the active spot. They also evolve that benched Pidgey into a Pidgeotto. They have that Drive Off ability. They are going to capitalize on it. The Hydros need to choose who they're going to sacrifice. It's either Articuno, who is the option, and not Poliwag. They clearly want that Poliwhirl, but here is the wing attack. This will finish off Articuno, and the Petalburg Razors take first point here in game 2. And they need to win this one to not give the Hydros this series. But again, we will still go to a game 3 as always, as Froakie has been pulled once again for the Pastoral Hydros. They have those 2 Greninja setups. They've got the 2 Poliwrath setups as well, and they've got that Articuno in hand. But there's the second energy for Frogadier with the Water Drip, hoping they can get the Greninja, because Pidgeot is a massive threat. They can either go for the Poliwag here, or they can chip away at the Frogadier. The Rattata has been put onto the bench because they just pulled their second Raticate as well, but they're opting to go for the wing attack. They're focusing on Frogadier because they know if Greninja gets online, it will be a powerful target. It's the Professor's Research though for the Pastoral Hydros. They get to play their own supporter here, and they get the Poliwhirl and they get the Greninja. A fantastic play there for the Pastoral Hydros, immediately using the Poliwhirl to evolve Poliwag, and they put an energy onto it as well. They're going to play that Greninja. It does have that Water Shuriken. It will do 20 damage to whoever they choose on the side of the Razors, going for the Pidgeot, putting it into knockout range, and with the Mist Slash they are going to finish off that Pidgeot, who is a massive threat for any opposing side. And Hydros now having leveled game 2 at 1 point each. It is the Raticate being set out for the Petalburg Razors as they pull their second Fearow. They still need to get a Spearow in hand, however, to be able to put them out, they evolve their Rattata into their second Raticate, getting that first energy onto it as well. But the Bite will only do 40 damage. Greninja has 50 health remaining, so it is hanging on with only 10 health in place. They pull their second Greninja card as well, and they are going to put that Poliwrath onto the Poliwhirl, so they've got that online with that counter attack ability, so any Pokemon that attacks it will receive 20 damage in return, and they can use that Water Shuriken, but they're also going to retreat the Greninja. They do not want to give up that Water Shuriken ability. It goes for the 20 damage, and it is going to opt to go for that benched Pidgeotto as well. They are going to end their turn as Poliwrath requires 3 energy to start going on the offensive. A potion is pulled for the Petalburg Razors, which is immediately used on that Pidgeotto. They still need the Pidgeot. And they do put a second energy onto Pidgeotto, as well as the Raticate goes for the Bite onto Poliwrath. It has 150 health, taken down to 110, but there is that 20 damage being returned to Raticate as well. But Poliwrath will be able to go online as the second Poliwag is pulled for the Hydros. They've got that third energy. This will do 80 damage. There is no Pokemon on the table at the moment for the Petalburg Razors that can withstand this as another Water Shuriken onto Pidgeot. They know that Poliwrath can finish off Raticate. The Razors need to pull Pidgeot on their next turn. I think I just called that Pidgeot, but still, the Hydros have just taken the lead. And the Razors needing to think about what they do. They choose the Pidgeotto, hoping to pull the Pidgeot, and they pull a Spearow. This is not good. The Hydros are in full control. They will be able to finish off any Pokemon that the Razors choose. As they opt to retreat the Pidgeotto, they see what is happening here on the board. They put the Raticate in place to do the maximum amount of damage they can. That will count towards the leaderboard, and that could be crucial come the end of the season. They go for the Bite. That is going to do that 40 damage, but unfortunately that counter attack does the returning 20, and Now the Hydros can take game 2 and take the series. They will go for that water shuriken first to get that extra 20 damage. As we say, as much damage the team can do is counted towards that leaderboard even in game 3, as the Hydros take game 2 and take the win in impressive fashion, getting both the Poliwrath and Greninja online and handling that Pidgeot very early on. But as this losing streak for the Petalburg Razors continues, it is the Hydros flipping heads. They will be going first with that Shell Armor deck. It is the Wake Up Call deck for the Petalburg Razors as the 2 shelters put into play for the Pastoria Hydros. They've got that all-important Misty in hand as well. It is the Jigglypuff from promo set A for the Petalburg Razors that can put the opposing Pokemon to sleep, as well as Minccino going onto the bench. But here we go, game 3, the Razors need to get as many points and as much damage as they can in this game. It still counts toward the leaderboard as the Hydros pull the Leaf card, but they are going to play that Professor's Research to get the second Leaf, get the Lapras as well. They weren't concerned with using that Misty on turn 1. They're willing to let Jigglypuff put Shelter to sleep as it is the Farfetch'd being pulled for the Petalburg Razors. They play their Pokeball and they are going to get that Snorlax. There's only one Snorlax in this deck. It takes a lot to set up for energy required. But it is that 150 health that can make it a bit of a stalwart. They are going to use the Sing though to put Shelter to sleep. No coin flip on whether or not that will happen. It's the coin flip from the Hydros that will determine if it wakes up, and they do get the head, so it is going to wake up immediately. So this is great for the Hydros. They do pull the Squirtle. They are going to play that. They've got the Blastoise in hand as well, so they just need the Wartortle. They play the Misty. This is a coin flip until you get Tails. It gets 1. This could go on forever. It gets 2, 3. 3 for the Hydros onto Lapras. This is fantastic. With 4, Lapras does additional damage on top of that Hydro Pump. And they do use that energy to put it onto Lapras, but they've already used the support card this turn, so they cannot use the Leaf, unfortunately. It is going to be the Razors. Oh, sorry, no, that is correct. I was about to say because Shelter is asleep, but no, Shelter is not asleep. They put their first energy onto Snorlax through the Razors, and they put Shelter to sleep. Once again, another coin flip, but this time it is a Tails. Maybe Luck has finally run out for the Hydros on those coin flips as they get their second Blastoise. Lapras is all set up, but they cannot retreat the Shelter. They're thinking about what to do with the energy, and they put it onto the Shelter as well. A very interesting choice because it is high risk as long as it is asleep. But here it is, that checkup once again, and another Tails for the Pastoria Hydros, allowing more setup for both these sides, as that Jigglypuff doesn't need to worry about putting Shelter back to sleep. The second Farfetch'd is pulled for the Petalburg Razors, and the second energy put onto Snorlax as well. Again, it requires 4 to do that 70 damage. And once again, the checkup, and once again, third time in a row, it is a Tails for Shelter. It will not be able to retreat whilst it is asleep, so those Leafs are pointless in hand. The Hydros are just going to start setting up that Squirtle in hopes of getting their Wartortle and Blastoise online as they get another Tails, and Jigglypuff can just sit idle in that active spot whilst the Razors continue to set up Snorlax. They pull their second Minccino. They do not have the Cinccino in hand, however, to evolve that. And once again, another coin flip checkup, and finally the Pastoria Hydros have gotten ahead, so they can retreat the Shelter and go on the offensive with the Lapras if that is the way they opt to go, as they are going to put another energy onto Squirtle, and they do retreat this Shelter just like we expected. It is the Lapras in that active spot, 90 damage. It is going to wipe this Jigglypuff off the board and take that first point for the Pastoria Hydros as they are looking to go for their second clean sweep in a row. The Razors, though, they can put that Snorlax in the active spot, but they're opting to go with the Farfetch'd. Farfetch'd will not be able to withstand an attack from Lapras, but it will be able to get 40 damage onto it, which would allow Snorlax to come in and finish it off. That is my prediction on how they may go about this. But still, the Hydro is waiting for that Wartortle to evolve the Squirtle, but instead they pull the Cloyster, so they're going to be able to evolve one of these Shelters in play here, as Lapras can easily finish off that Farfetch'd. Another energy being placed onto Squirtle, and the Hydros are about to take their second point. The Razors have not gotten a point yet in Game 3. This is terrible for them. They are on the verge of having their second clean sweep loss, 2 rounds in a row as the Hydros are in full control. It is the Snorlax put into play, the Pokeball is being used, and they do get that Jigglypuff in hand as well. Immediately laying out the Jigglypuff as well as that second Farfetch'd, and here is the 4th energy on the Snorlax, allowing it to go for the rollout. It will be able to finish off this Lapras. They're not worrying about the supporter, they just want to get this Lapras off the field and stop it from doing 90 damage to their colorless Pokemon. And finally the Petalburg Razors have taken a point here in Game 3. It is the Cloyster being put onto the field for the Pastoria Hydros with that Shell Armor ability as well, and they are going to play their second Misty, which they've just pulled another coin flip. Keeps going until they get Tails, and they immediately get Tails, so there is no energy activated from that Misty supporter card. As the Hydro is looking at their hand, trying to decide what to do, they are going to get that 4th energy onto the Squirtle after going over that Blastoise. Again, they still need that Wartortle though to get it online. And finally the Chinchino for the Petalburg Razors, 3 energy, but it does do 30 damage for each of the colorless benched Pokemon on the board for the Petalburg Razors. And there is that Giovanni supporter card. That is going to add the additional 10 damage to offset that Shell Armor ability that Cloyster has. It is in elimination range, the second Pokeball for the Pastoria Hydros. They immediately play that, but there are no basic Pokemon left in the deck, putting that first energy now onto Cloyster. A very interesting choice because it is about to be taken off this field by the Snorlax. They could have put it onto the shoulder, but still, it is the X-Speed from the Petalburg Razors as they continue to set up that Chinchino on the bench, and another 70 from the rollout to eliminate Cloyster from this match, and the Petalburg Razors have leveled this thanks to Snorlax. And the Hydros opt in now to go with Squirtle. They need the Wartortle, instead they get the Giovanni in hand. This is not good for them at all. They are going to put that Lapras into play. They need to think of something quick. They are going to put an energy onto Lapras. They're going to play the Leaf card, so they're actually going to retreat the Squirtle immediately from that active spot, and they're going to put Lapras into play. Lapras can outlast that rollout from Snorlax, as it is going to go for the Hydro Pump. It's only going to do 20 damage because of that single energy. It needs 4 to be able to do that 90 damage. There's the Wigglytuff for the Petalburg Razors immediately being put onto the Jigglypuff, and they are going to put that first energy onto it as well. There is the potion for the Snorlax. Whoever loses their next Pokemon loses Game 3, and Snorlax with the rollout, this will be doing 70 damage. Lapras can hold on. And there is that second Cloyster now for the Hydros, as Lapras is in elimination range. They need to think about what they're going to do. They put a second energy onto Lapras here, and they are going to retreat it. They're trying to move up about their cards to keep Snorlax from being able to take out any Pokemon. With that 120 health that Cloyster has, it can outlast a rollout from Snorlax just like Lapras was able to. There's that third energy for Chinchino, another rollout from Snorlax. Again, the Hydros desperately need that Wartortle, and they finally get it in hand from that deck. They are able to evolve Squirtle. It's got 4 energy on it here. They do put their first energy onto Cloyster. They play the Leaf. They look like they're about to hesitate, but they are going to play that Leaf supporter card. This will allow them to retreat the Cloyster. They put that Wartortle into play. This is only going to do 40 damage to Snorlax, but Snorlax cannot finish off Wartortle in one turn. But if you look at the bench of the Petalburg Razors, they have that Chinchino. It has 3 energy on it. It will do 30 damage for each of the benched Pokemon for the Petalburg Razors. They're going to put it into play. They retreat the Snorlax. They're going to do the wave, and this will eliminate Wartortle. So the Petalburg Razors are finally able to get a win in a series on the board, and that could be crucial come the end of this season. But for now, the Hydros are in third, and the Razors, unfortunately, are in 8th. They need to get some wins on the board. But with that said, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought the best card was, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, send thanks, and I'll see you when you see me.